Any questions? Because I have a few, but we can open the questions to the audience as well.
Yeah, Dan, you were talking about possible breach in talks between the Israeli and Palestinians. Lately, there have been rumors about the possible release of Marwan Barghouti as part of a renewed negotiation process. I was wondering what your take on that is, Dr. Abuzaida.
The rumors?
Well, on the
It's rumors.
it's rumors, yeah.
It's rumors. Nothing serious. My knowledge, nothing serious about the releasing of Marwan Barghouti. It's possible, but it's not. I have no information about that, honestly.
What would be the result if they would release him?
I think Marwan Barghouti is not the usual, it's not just prisoner. He's a very popular leader within the Palestinians. I can give you indication about that. The last public survey held by Khalil Shkaki 2 months ago, that if Marwan Barghouti going to candidate himself, he for sure will win the election as the head of the Palestinian Authority. He can win any Hamas candidate. So he will very active in the future once he releases it. No doubt about that.
Aliyah, I'd like to ask you a question. You know, we've seen films along this part, and you know, I'm a lawyer as well. I never worked for. I never really worked as a lawyer as such, but I consider myself a jurist and somebody that the rule of law is something that I grew up on and I find very important. And I ask myself, this issue of administrative detention of people, you know, admittedly, yes, every 3 months or every several months, it has to be brought back for judicial review, and yet people can still find themselves without trial for years. How do you know, and you were a very senior official in the Ministry of Justice, how do we teach our young lawyers who come into the Parliament, how do we make them forget those lessons in that they learned in human rights, and convince them that this repeated, prolonged incarceration without trial is something that we can rely on for years and years and years?
Well, as I said before, this is a very tough issue. This is a very tough issue. Because, as you said, to take a person, to put him in jail when he didn't do anything, you just want to prevent him of doing something in the future, but you punish him now, he's in jail. So this is very difficult when we are talking about justice. But on the other hand, this is, look, a war is something nice. Killing people, how is it with the human rights? So this is one of the tools of a state to defend itself. A war is an ugly thing. Killing people is a horrible thing. To put people in jail before they did, but if you have enough evidence that this is what they want to do and they try to do, right, is a little bit less. From a legal point of view, this is tough. From defending human life, it's not so tough.
I actually had a question and comment very much related to what Dan said, and it is in fact about, because I'm interested in democracies, and it is also about the identity of Israel as a democracy, and the way in which a military regime that has continued in the West Bank to really decide over its non-citizens and decide their fate it's a preemptive kind of action, like you said, before you anticipate that those people might commit something, you put them into jail. So that is a question, and I'm wondering again. No. Okay. Let me just. The question is coming actually. And related to this, the two recent documentaries, the Law in These Parts and the Gatekeepers, sort of like puts on the spot those judges who had to take were in those moral dilemmas, at the point that they were making decisions about other people's fates. So where. Yeah. Again, it's really like I'm really tapping into what pushing into what Dan was leading to. Where is this leading the Israeli society, the Israeli consciousness, down that alley?
Let me ask you a question. Do you want to persuade me that Israel needs to end the occupation?
No, I know that.
Because,
but
I agree with you.
It is something at the heart now of the identity of this democracy, that it has a military regime that has a special treatment for non-citizens.
So, what do you want from me? I'm one of the, soldiers in the struggle to fight occupation, to end it, for the sake of the state of Israel as well as the sake of the Palestinians. I agree with you. This is wrong. This is not good for us. Not good for the Israelis, and not good for the Palestinians. I agree with you. But you have to understand that policy matters. The one who decided about it is the government and the society when they elect this government or another government, right? Those people that are serving in the security organizations, they're not the ones, well, I don't want to defend them, but they are not the ones who said, we want this policy or that policy or that policy. They're serving as civil servants in an organization dealing with the security of the state of Israel. This is the situation where Israel is occupying the West Bank. Yes, Israel controls, to my great sorrow, on the Palestinian people. Yes, and some of the Palestinians want to release from this occupation, and they take the measure that you don't want to have them, don't you? Right? So their mission is to fight it under law of the Knesset of Israel. And this is what they're doing. And if they're not doing that and they're doing wrong, then they need themselves to sit in jail. But until then, you can't blame them of the policy. Make the difference between that.
Sufyan, just one question and then I'll let you, I'm sorry. Could you just give us a hierarchy of the various prisoners? Like you mentioned the pre-Oslo, there are the administrative detentions, then there are, I guess, what we call the national characters, and then maybe normal criminality or something like that. Could you just give us, because maybe that could also help us in understanding and then trying to convey the message to the Israeli government, to the international community, saying, look, the first and most important is A, then B, then C in the prison.
But before that, I have 2 words about the administrative detainees or detention. Let us admit that Israel cannot consider itself as a democratic state when they committed a policy of arresting people, sending them to jails for years, not for months, for years, without any accusation. Just because the Shabak, the security services, believe, and we cannot check if they have information or they haven't information, just because they believe it's dangerous for the Israeli people. It's easy for the security services in any place in the world just to put people and to close them. The easy and the best thing for any security services, the troublemakers, to put them and to close them in rooms. And that's what happened with the Palestinians. So Israel, and all the time I'm teaching in Birzeit University, and when we're talking about Israeli democracy, and when I'm talking about Israeli political system, I'm telling them that the Israelis have two systems. A democratic system for the Jewish people, for the Israeli people, and a very, very darkness system for the Palestinians. Nobody can defend or claim that what's happening with the Palestinians is related to democracy. No democracy with occupation. Forget that. The democracy of the Israelis are exactly in the borders, if we know where is the borders. The second thing regarding the question. For the Palestinians, the main and the painful point is those who spend tens of years in the Israeli jails, arrested before Oslo. And most of them belong to the PLO. Most of them belong to Fatah, the party of Abu Mazen. I'm talking about after Shalit release. I'm talking only about 120, 130, something like that. We're not talking about thousands. And most of them spent more than 25 years with the Israelis. Tell me, how many Israelis, Jewish people, involved in killing Palestinians in terror attacks, spent 25 years in Israeli jails? 30 years. What's the difference between the Jewish people who killed innocent Palestinians and Palestinians who killed Israelis? This is the democracy of Israel. This is the human rights. So that's the first point. The second point, the administrative detainees. It's a question of human rights. Who can decide? You know why I arrested 5 times in Israeli jails? First time I was in school. I was 17 years old, first time. It was 1977, 78. And some kids threw stones to the Israeli soldiers. The Israeli soldiers got to the school, got to my class. Just look into the faces. My face looked as troublemaker. You.
I agree.
You. Come with me. I did nothing. I spent 1 week. To be honest with you, I was happy with that.
You became a hero.
Yes, exactly. And I started to be a hero since this moment. I was 17. So, it's not exactly all the prisoners who spent 10 years or years at administrative detainees, like Talia thinks that all consider as a bomb بطل زعمتك تاكل؟ taking bomb?
Wow.
Taking bomb? It's not right. Believe me, hundreds, thousands of Palestinians spending, suffering for years without to do nothing or to plan nothing. Just because the Shabbat believe it's a dangerous for Israel.
I want to.
Business, please.
Yes.
I don't want, to be the ultimate defender of administrative prison ship. I'm not very much familiar with it, but anyhow, I'm not very much for it. It's something that I could be persuaded to do if a person will prove me that if I want to put that person in jail, people might die, right? So if I have to choose between people that would die and your freedom, I prefer to take your freedom. And there's a...
What is the law here?
Just a minute. This is the law. And there's a judicial control about that. Because you have to bring it to court, you have to bring all the evidence to court, court have to look at all the evidence and be persuaded. I know that you think this is automatically. When they see a Palestinian, immediately they are convinced to put him in jail. I know that this is what you think. I don't think it's exactly like that, but I think that the whole system has a problem. I agree.
The occupation system, you mean?
The occupation, this is what I wanted to say before. The main issue is not the detainees. The main issue is the occupation.
Yeah, exactly.
Who harms the
agree
Israeli
with you.
democracy? I agree with you. We don't have any argument about that. All right.
The whole system is immoral, and it just develops tools to maintain the immorality, and we can't defend.
Or to maintain security in that situation.
Please.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. It's really great to have a chance to hear and talk about this topic. Not that I feel that it's necessary to comment on this, but Talia, you mentioned, you started off your presentation by saying there are two particular kinds of prisoners, and you said, there are those who committed crimes and who are there because they committed crimes. And then there are those who are believed to perhaps have the potential to commit crimes. But I think at this point, there's no question about it that there are people who there is no evidence for them potentially committing a crime, yet they find themselves in administrative detention. And in part, it is believed by many reputable sources and organizations that this is due to simply these people presenting a political challenge to the Israeli government. I just wanted to comment on that. But my question is more about the legal system.
I don't agree with you.
You don't agree with me?
Of course, I don't agree with you.
We can interact via email if you'd like. But the actual question that I have is, in regards to the legal system, I lived most of my life in the United States, and United States has a very fun practice of administrative detention as well. And I guess I'm not yet understanding what is the purpose of this parallel legal system, or which I consider an illegal system, that is supposed to try people